Hi, folks. Thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to join us today for our presentation on security best practices for the Now platform, securing your instance. My name is Joseph Pizzo, and I'm a product analyst on the ServiceNow Customer Security and Trust team. So here on the Customer Security and Trust team, we provide applications, guidance, and services to assist our customers with securing their instances. Our goal is to partner with you to deliver confidence when it comes to the security of your ServiceNow instances and the data that you store and use to make work flow. So to kick things off, let's talk about our safe harbor notice, right? The nice part of this presentation today is that nearly all of the ideas and information I'll be sharing are current. So I won't be talking about the future of products, but with that being said, don't make purchases and just purchasing decisions based upon forward-looking statements. So I just want to clear that up and get that out of the way in case we do make some forward-looking statements. So when we think about what we're going to get out of this, why am I putting my time and investing my time into learning about this? You've embarked on a journey with ServiceNow, and we want to make sure that you understand the resources that are available for you to secure your instances. And you understand that there are things that we can do to help. You can reach out to us. There are resources that are available in video format or document format, and you know where to find some of these. And you'll see throughout the presentation that we've included a couple of little QR codes that I encourage you to click on, follow those links, and gather the data that we put out there because they're going to be important as you move through your journey. So let's start off with what is a ServiceNow instance? And, this can be kind of confusing to some people, especially if we've been buying software for years, traditionally, where I take that software and I install it. But what we're talking about today are cloud resources, specifically SaaS and PaaS resources. So the definition of a ServiceNow instance is a copy of the ServiceNow platform in the cloud that's given to each customer. It's a collection of applications, databases, libraries, and virtual machines that work together to provide specific services to businesses. And each instance is independent, configurable, and not shared with other customers. So your slice is private. No one else can access this. So when you first log into your instance, you're going to be logging in using TLS. So there's already some security built in on that communication of logging in and getting into these systems. But when we break it down, it breaks down to a couple of really simple ideas. And these are our app nodes that really do the work for those applications that you're installing within your platform or within your instance. There's a database on the back end that's dedicated to that production environment, hence your instance. And then there's all of your workflow and applications that sit on top of that. Now, when we think about this, we have all of this data. So, we have this stuff that's there, and we have a user account that we have to log in with, and we have, things that we're putting in, and we want to make sure that that's secure. But when we also want to consider the physical security. And when it comes down to the physical security, a lot of times we'll sit back and scratch our heads and think, well, what do we do? Well, these are ServiceNow locations where we have these paired around the world, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But these instances sit inside of a cage in a co-location facility, and there are specific controls in place to make sure that the cage can't be entered by people who don't have access, that there's monitoring that's going on, that the co-location data center, any visitors are escorted. We vet the employees that work there to make sure that everything's happening with people who are trusted. And then we're also auditing any access controls on top of this. And when we think about this, we want to think about what's going on with this. So we deliver this worldwide through 18 paired data centers. And these are running 24/7, 365 days a year. And we guarantee a 99.995 uptime. So when we think about this, we want to think about what are we getting out of this and where are we putting our instances and how are we managing these? And what we're really breaking down is that we have that fault tolerance. So when we say paired, we have all of our data centers are set up in pairs. So you can see here that we'll have Toronto and Calgary, Baltimore and Ashburn, Culpeper and Miami. So this is where we have all of this information set out across all of these systems, and they're set up to be redundant. And this is really cool because when we think about this, we have a single data model with controls that cover for everything. So whether you install ITSM, ITSM Pro, ITAM, SecOps, customer service, HR, you're going to receive that same level of security for your platform. And there's some functionality that's out there where we can go out and we can assist with some things in your environment. So we talk about a little bit about authentication and identity and understanding how we can log into this and how we can take control of authenticating against our systems. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. We have auditing and monitoring. And this could include some logging information that can give you some data so you can track back what's going on. We also have encryption and key management, platform security controls, secure and compliant infrastructure that matches specific regulations and requirements based on individual rules that are being adopted around the world, and then partners that we integrate with as well. So let's jump into a quick poll question. And this question is, what is your level of confidence in securing a ServiceNow instance? All right. We're getting some great answers. We have a great audience today, a nice number of people, and this is fantastic to see people jumping in. And I see some people who are extremely confident, a small number, somewhat confident, neutral, not very confident, and I have no idea where to begin. And I want to focus a little bit on the neutral, not very confident, and I have no idea to begin because we want to make it easy for you. So let's end this poll and move on to the next slide. So each customer is on their own path, their own journey with ServiceNow and security as it applies to your instance. There's going to be times when certain security methods, tools, protocols, or configurations will be subjective to your organization and its policies, right? So we're all on our own journey. We all have our own things that we need to be concerned with. Our organizations have their own policies. But the neat thing about a journey is that you can always change direction. Some directions may lead you to rough terrain, right? So rocky, uphill, and can be really tiring. And some will lead you and your organization to a flat, calm, breezy walking path. So our goal at ServiceNow is to assist our customers with simplifying some of that journey. So that's why we've put this together and some of the things we're going to talk about. And let's talk about that first phase, right? We want to think about on that journey, we have the crawl, walk, run approach. So ServiceNow instance security is an important responsibility that requires careful attention. Security isn't a one size fits all, right? We understand that through the journey. We understand that everyone's journey is going to be different. One key factor in maintaining a secure instance is having access to reliable and up-to-date information about best practices, guidelines, and tools. And that's where we come in here on the CST team. To help stay informed and make the most of ServiceNow security features, we've compiled a list of resources that you can access. and it includes official documentation from ServiceNow, as well as external resources and communities where you can connect with other ServiceNow users and experts around the world. We know that security isn't one size fits all, and what might apply to another product could very well apply to ServiceNow and vice versa. And we want you to take advantage of some of this. We also understand that our customers may have varying experience with security. Some may just be rolling over. Some may be crawling. Some may be toddling around, holding on while they move around. Part of our goal is to meet you where you need us. So think about that when we're talking about that crawl phase. Some of us are still, fresh out of the womb. Some of us have a little bit more experience. Some of us are running already. So we want to take advantage of that and meet you where your needs are. So no matter where you are, we're here to help. And here are some resources that are available. So for our potential and new customers, there's the Trust site. Go and hit the Trust site at servicenow.com. There's also the Security Center site that's available up there that you can go and hit. There's also the Trust Center on Now Support. So when you go and open up a case, there's the ability to go and hit that area of our support to gather more information about what you can gain out of us. And then finally, for partners, there's the ServiceNow Partner Portal. And if you're working with a partner, which I think you should be, most of our customers do, you want to at least have a connection into that through your partner. So this puts you in a great place. And it depends on, your current situation and what you need to learn from us. So let's talk a little bit about our core compliance. So the core compliance portal enables ServiceNow customers to self-serve documentation to help support internal audit and assessment requirements, prepare for on-site audits, and address regulatory requirements, which is pretty cool because a lot of us operate in different roles and different areas among different industries. So we might have to, think about things like, how do we respond to a CFR for a pharmaceutical company, or what regulations do I have to abide by for a financial, or if I'm over in Europe and I have a business operating there, what do I need to be concerned with? So core includes ServiceNow certifications and attestations, ServiceNow SOC 1 and SOC 1 Type 2 and SOC 2 Type 2 reports, internal policies and standard operating procedures, data center certifications, the Shared Assessment SIG and Cloud Security Alliance CAIQ pre-filled vendor risk questionnaires. Core access for customers and partners is provisioned by Now Support account holders by the customer's primary customer administrator who manages the company's ServiceNow instance. So this is where you get to choose who's running that instance and who's going to be representing you. One of the things that CISOs have top of mind these days is the supply chain attacks or third-party breaches. So here, this is where we're helping our customers make proper due diligence on the ServiceNow security processes. And this is where you can gather all of that information to meet the needs of any of the compliance that you might have out there. So we can go and you can hit this site, download the document, download customized information, and go and grab this. And this is pretty important stuff. And this is still, remember, we're in that crawl phase. So this is the stuff that you're going to hand over when security asks you for attestation, or your internal auditors ask you for this information, or anyone who's involved with making sure that risk tolerances are acceptable. You can hand this over to those organizations. It's actually a pretty cool feature. Next, let's go into the basics. Now, I'm going to pause for a second. I want everyone to pull out your phones and hit that QR code. Now, I'm a security guy. Typically, if someone told me to hit a QR code, I probably would ignore it. You can also just go onto Google and search for ServiceNow Security Best Practices Guide. So this is where you can start that journey from the beginning, that crawl phase, and get you into that walking or even running phase if you desire to get there. It's a guide that's built to provide the best considerations for ServiceNow. So this was created specifically for customers, prospects, partners, and ServiceNow support staff. This best practices guide is an easy to follow guide, and it provides information on the main security features by ServiceNow for platform and how best to use them to secure an instance. This guide is specifically aimed at those who are tasked with the responsibility of keeping a ServiceNow instance secure. This is going to be part of your first steps in the journey of security with ServiceNow. Now, ServiceNow instances undergo regular patching to maintain security and performance. ServiceNow patching program helps you ensure your platform software is kept up to date. You can take advantage of our automated patching service to assist you with this. Typically, there are also 2 major versions of updates per year. You will see for other products, though, there are update patches that pop up occasionally. And we recommend you stay on top of those. When we think about this, we want to think about making sure that we also maintain our version we suggest to our customers to be N-1. So as of today, N would be Washington. That would be the family version. -1 would be Vancouver. Now, we do have customers that are on older versions like Utah, Tokyo, San Diego. But in order to take advantage of some of the patches that are available and some of the functionality and even some of the products that you've bought into for new and updated features, you have to stay on top of your patching and your update cycles. So jump right into that, get to know this, start learning a little bit about this. The next phase in that crawl cycle is security contacts. Now, we strongly recommend that this is not the same as the customer admin. So if you have in your support portal, hey, it's Jim's our ServiceNow admin, maybe Mary would be the best person to put in here because Mary is on the security team and she's responsible for cloud security. And Mary might be a great contact to reach out to in the event that there is something that's discovered that requires the security team's attention. So we've put this in place so that we have a way for not just Jim to own all the responsibility. We want to make Jim a security hero, but we also want Mary to have that awareness. So when we break this down, we recommend that the named security contacts include at least 2 security personnel authorized by the organization to discuss security. They have the ability to quickly reach out to business owners and leadership. They have a familiarity and understanding of the ServiceNow service and how their organization is utilizing ServiceNow. So there's just some basic stuff that we have out there that we really want to focus on. Now, the next part I get really excited about, because a lot of my customers, and there was a number of you that came back that, didn't feel that confident with securing their instance. But one thing that we've built to assist our customers with some of the heavy lifting is ServiceNow Security Center. And ServiceNow Security Center is a one-stop shop to really help guide security and make sure that you're in a better place when it comes to security. Now, this isn't going to be everything. As we go through this, you're going to see that there are areas that you need to consider. But when it comes to security hardening, so you want to harden the platform, there are 217 different hardening settings and configurations that can be set. There's the security scanner where you can scan for any user modified functionality. So think columns that have been created, you think of scripts that have been written, and these can also be, you can create new checks for individual things. There's best practices, customer action, security metrics, and learning capabilities. And when we break this down, we want to make sure that we're thinking about, do we want to fall into that 99% of cloud breaches that can be traced back to preventable misconfigurations? And this is where we can get ahead of that. Now, this is something that's free. It is already available in your instances when you turn them on. You just go into your filter navigator and search for Security Center. This is part of platform, and we encourage everyone to use it. And to get started, just open up your filter navigator and search on it. Now, if you're on Utah, if you're installing Utah or anything prior, there's going to be a little bit of work to do. There's the Instant Security Center for anything pre-Utah, and that's different from this. And in Utah, there's you need to go out to the store.servicenow.com site to get this. So this puts us in a place where we really need to like jump in and get this, and we're trying to make this as as open as possible to all of our customers so that they can avoid any potential pitfalls. Now, this may not prevent you from getting hacked, but it's going to help you reduce any potential of exploit. And that leads me to our security center, specifically best practices. Best practices are the first steps in the crawl, where you can go in and you can start doing things that you can configure your instance to make sure that you're protected. Now, in the news recently, there's been some news about attacks and how weak passwords have allowed access to, different resources. So here you can go and you can follow a workflow for creating great password hygiene. So this was built on one of the key components being our security learning page, and system admins will find a large variety of resources here to be able to map to this and track this and stay on top of everything that's here. We're going to talk a little bit more about this in the future. But let's start talking about walk. So in the crawl step of the security journey, we talked a little bit about patching and upgrading, familiarity with some of the resources like the best practices guide and security center. But here we're going to build on that step by going just a little bit deeper as we start walking down the security journey path to understand who is responsible for what, and we'll highlight some of the newer options. So I also have another QR code in here, and I'm going to encourage everyone to go and hit that, because that's going to take you to some more details about this slide. Now, what we're looking at is a grid, and this is pretty cool, right? This is the shared security responsibility model. And these are all things. If we look at all these green dots under customer, the red dots under ServiceNow, and then these gray dots under co-location, these are all the areas where we're responsible. And you'll see some overlap there. But there's some stuff that we really need to think about here. And as a customer of any product, especially technology, we want to know that, it's secure and secure by default, but we also want to know if there's any type of responsibility that I have. And we all have responsibilities when it comes to this. So first, we want to think about what do we need to do to secure configuration, authentication, authorization, data management, data encryption, and so on. This is where we have these responsibilities. And this QR code is going to take you to a document that specifically defines each of these areas and what your responsibility is. And I think that's pretty cool to get us moving and get our customers really working and getting more secure. So when we think about securing your instance, we want to think about three specific areas: the invisibles and configurables, plus the enhanceables. So when we think about this, we want to think about the business continuity, physical security, environmental controls, infrastructure management, vulnerability and patch management, secure software development life cycles, various certification and attestation. And this is where we have these capabilities to perform to keep you secure and always working. The configurables are where we have those standard capabilities for customers to maintain their configurations and your instance security. So this is where we want to restrict access to apps, restrict access within an app, data and privacy, logging and monitoring, instance hardening, and encryption. Now, some of this is stuff that we do already and we've already talked about. So instance hardening can fall into Security Center. Encryption can fall into our Vault product, which we'll talk about later. Logging and monitoring are things that are available out of the box, but there's also features in Security Center to help with that. Privacy, restrict access within an app. Some apps come as a scoped application. So if you purchase that application, data won't spill from another area, from one area to another in the platform. But we also want to consider what we have to do. We want to make sure that if we have a new app that is a scoped app, we might want to provide an admin access to that app or provide an admin for that app admin rights. So we want to be very careful with this, and we want to trust our team members and trust what's going on. Then when we look around at enhanceables, this is where we have third party or where we have a purchasable product. And we can talk about that later on. This is where we have the zero trust, the log export, code signing, encryption, and privacy and secrets set up so that you can take advantage of those. But those are going to be subjective to your organization. So why are we looking at these items, right? We want to reduce common security risks. We want to understand roles in meeting compliance to industry standard, right? Legal regulations and privacy concerns. And one of the best things about this is good security hygiene also helps with keeping your instance available. And that leads us into stability. So if we're practicing good security hygiene, we're going to be operating in a more stable environment, which is pretty cool. We don't want anything to become compromised or risky where we have to worry about, are we tracking outages around the world for our data centers as a customer, and we're tracking them in ServiceNow and we have workflow that's built, but we fail to, practice good password hygiene. So we want to be able to take advantage of that and go through the steps to get there. So let's kick off another poll. So this poll, what is your experience with ServiceNow Security Center? Never heard of it. I've heard of it, but I've never used it, or I use it regularly. We're getting some great results here. All right. Very cool. Very cool. I'm going to end the poll and move on to the next slide. But what I'm seeing is that there's a lot of organizations that haven't heard of it, or a lot of people on the call haven't heard of it. Some have heard of it but never used it, and 2 people have used it regularly, and I commend you for that. If you are using it or you've heard of it, you need to go in and update it. We released a pretty cool update last week. So take advantage of that update. Go to your all applications, select Security Center, hit the refresh button and sync that up, and you'll get that new update, and you'll be able to update and run some of the latest features and fix any potential problems that have been found. So this is all really cool stuff. But we want to make sure that you're using Security Center, because Security Center is going to be one of the first steps on your journey. Very cool. So let's go into Security Center a little bit. We talked about this before. We just kind of briefly covered it. Now, Security Center is replacing what was once called Instance Security Center. Now, when we break this down, right now, there are 6 distinct feature groups. This provides for a way for our customers to not let their guard down and see improvements. Security Center has 6 feature groups, as I mentioned, and this is an increase of the overall posture for security of your organization. It's pretty exciting. I'm going to tell you why. At the time of release, there were about 170 different settings that could be configured in the hardening setting. There were also only 4 major feature groups. And if you're familiar, and those of you that are, you know that we strive to improve platform and deliver value to our customers. So what we've done is we've gone beyond just the initial 4 of hardening, scanning, metrics, and learning, and we've added critical updates, which will be renamed to customer actions. So if you update from your August 1st release, you'll see it be renamed customer actions, and our best practices, and our best practices is really to help get those customers started on that journey. It's really, really cool stuff. And you could take advantage of things like metrics, which is going to pull in some logging and monitoring stuff that you can go and watch and you could take advantage of. And that's where this comes into for logging and monitoring in other areas where we can go and identify API, syslog probes, and mid-server, and even Kafka monitoring, where we can track infrastructure, OS, network, certain centralized monitoring, cloud availability, capacity. If we look at customer managed stuff, we start looking at transaction and event logs where you can go in and see all of this stuff and take advantage of that and start tracking problems that you may encounter and get to them before they become catastrophes. Next is we have our managed access control. So identification and authentication, and then authorization. So when we think about this, we want to be able to authenticate using single sign-on, LDAP, SAML, Digest, OpenID, SCIM, local database authentication, which kind of we kind of hope that our customers are going to use multi-factor or single sign-on, and this puts us in a position where we can steer our customers down there. I suggest multi-factor and single sign-on and just allowing local login. You can find out more information in the documents that we've shared. But then there's the authorization stuff. We have full role-based access control, role inheritance, access control engine for multi-level ACL rule set. And we want to make sure that we're on top of this stuff and we're auditing consistently. We also want to think about adaptive authentication, which is pretty cool. This puts us in a place where we can, have our organization either allow or deny from only our corporate environment, or if we're global, we can set up IP restrictions. We have the mobile app that started with Utah for registering mobile devices, where someone can go and register their device and then they'll be able to log in. We can go and we can, hit things like inbound REST APIs to only allow OAuth from specific IP, and we can take advantage of this stuff. So this puts us in a place where we're really, set to be powerful with this. Email security is incredibly important. It's one of the most common ways for attackers to try to compromise systems, and we need to reduce that attack surface. So there's a couple of options. So your own email environment or ServiceNow's email environment, you can take advantage of using DKIM. Customers can implement using your own custom domain, such as an acme.com or whatever domain you're using. There's platform support for a Microsoft Graph API to read Microsoft Exchange Online. And then, for reference points, we want to help protect against spoofing. We want to control outbound email using sender policy framework of SPF and DKIM. And DNS records must be added for the origin domain. So DKIM keys are assigned per email domain per instance. So this puts us in a place where we can go and really stay on top of this stuff to restrict file types, restrict domains, email filters, and then take advantage of DKIM and DMARC. And then on top of that, when we have things that come in with attachments, we also have our virus protection that's in there. So we have antivirus that's built into the platform. So if you upload something or if something's sent attached to an email, that will automatically be quarantined or checked to make sure if it needs to be quarantined. So now we're getting to the final stages and we're in that fun stage. So in the walk step, we reviewed the basic location of information. We started looking at the security journey, understand who is responsible for what. You get to understand where to find things. In the run step, it put us in a position to review some of the capabilities you can leverage to meet stringent or rigorous compliance requirements for your industry and gain more control over your data access. So this is where we're going to go and start taking that control. So when we think about this, we want to think about privacy requirements. Privacy requirements becoming the focus for all sectors and all of you here. Here, an out-of-the-box free feature to help is data classification. So you're going to hear a lot about security features in here and other presentations from our team and in our CST both. But I'd like to emphasize on the new capabilities to privacy, which is an essential aspect of data security. And it's become increasingly important in recent years as the amount of data we generate and share online continues to grow. So when we think about this, data classification is going to be incredibly important. In the context of ServiceNow, privacy features play a critical role in ensuring that sensitive information is kept secure and used appropriately. These features enable organizations to comply with privacy regulations, protect against data breaches, and build trust with your stakeholders. So when we go into data discovery, this puts us in a place where we can go in and identify things under system security through data classification and data classes. And we can make those associations, and then we can map out exactly where we are with these. When it comes down to encryption, this is going to be where you start thinking about your journey and what are your requirements for your organization. So encryption of data at rest, it's not set by default at ServiceNow. We do offer a few options depending on the risks you'd like to mitigate or your own requirements. So for example, if you require full disk encryption, this is where we need to worry about things like theft of hard drives. So everything's being stored in cages in Acola facilities that are protected. So short of Tom Cruise diving into our data centers, I would say that those hard drives are pretty safe. When we start talking about edge encryption, the use case for edge encryption is unauthorized access to sensitive data by ServiceNow. So we want to be able to identify if we need to have that edge encryption in place to be able to maintain what's going in and what's going out and where it's being viewed. When we start looking at column level encryption, this is going to be unauthorized access to sensitive data on the customer side. The risk managed on cloud encryption is going to be the theft of hard drives, like we mentioned before, and full disk encryption is going to be managed through the theft of hard drives. So there's a lot that goes in here, and there's a lot to consider. So I'll tell you that most of our customers don't require enhanced encryption for the data that they're storing because they have compensating controls to mitigate access to this. And they're staying on top of things like ACLs, users, rights, roles, responsibilities, and role-based access control, and then having good password hygiene and having using multi-factor authentication. So that will reduce some of the need to see this. But there are things that you can do to protect this stuff. So let's talk a little bit about cloud encryption. So when we think about cloud encryption, we want to think about, the customer controlling their data in the cloud. And this is where you can use your keys to control your own data. So this is something that you're going to be able to, you want assurances that you have absolute control over things. You want to make sure that you can pull this data out and it's yours and you know that it is, it's authentic, that it's been protected and you can audit that data. And we want to make our customers more comfortable with what's going on. So let's talk a little bit, how do you get this? Well, this is ServiceNow Vault. And Vault increases trust using a set of premium privacy and security controls to protect sensitive data, enable privacy, and monitor for appropriate use. So when we think about this, there are a bunch of different features and functions involved here, from code signing to secrets management to zero trust, data privacy, platform encryption, and log services. So when we think about this, we want to think about how how comprehensive we need to be with this. Now, this is an available application that's sold separately. ServiceNow Security Center is free. Accessing all of the configurations that you need to follow in the best practices guide, that's part of platform. That's also free, but you have to do the work. This is where you can go and take advantage of more enhanced features so that you can go and you can make sure that if you need to follow zero trust 100%, this is where you get this for your platform. If you need to focus on platform encryption, and the security that you've enabled already isn't enough, this is where you can go and grab that. If you need to go and start tracking code signing and secrets management, this is where you can go and enable that. Now, we have resources available to this through our website, and there are online demos of Vault by itself. And I encourage you to go out and take a look at those and learn a little bit about them and see if that fits your journey and your subjective needs for your organization. So another area is penetration testing. So this is part of a comprehensive security strategy. So when you conduct regular penetration tests, you're going to gain information about where your weaknesses are. Penetration tests involve simulating a cyber attack on your ServiceNow instance to identify those vulnerabilities and weaknesses in your security defenses. So we can conduct these tests, and you can even do some things to kind of give you a mini idea of what you're doing. That's where the scanner functionality in ServiceNow Security Center comes in, where you can go and start scanning things for any type of user changes that have been made. But additionally, you can bring those third parties in annually. You can bring in an independent assessor, and it's acceptable in ServiceNow Core. And then if you initiate your own, these are permitted once per calendar year. It's got to follow our testing policies for an instance hardening. You have to be on the latest patch. You have to schedule it 4 to 8 weeks before your go live. Inform ServiceNow through the support portal, and include mobile app and unauthenticated scans as well. So this is something that's really out there to really help you and maintain what you're doing for other resources with security. So here's another poll question. Where do you feel you are in your security journey with ServiceNow? Crawl, walk, or run? All right. Looking good. Looking good. All right. I'm going to end poll right now. We're going to talk about this for a second. I see a majority of respondents are in the crawl phase and the walk phase. I actually love hearing that, because the way I see this as a journey, I'm a big guy. You know, if I'm running, I'm breathing heavy and I'm sweating a lot, but I can walk for a really, really long time. And and if I'm walking, I may have to occasionally run for a little bit, but walking is a great place to target. If you're in that crawl phase, that means that there's probably a couple of things that you really need to do to get to that walk phase. Ultimately, I want you right at the edge of walk and the edge of run, because I want you to be able to comfortably trot, comfortably move through this, maybe a brisk walk that you can gain a little bit of exercise, but you can also start learning things. You can maintain and you can stay on top of stuff. So let's think about this. Security in your hands basically comes down to all of these different areas. So one key resource that I'd like to highlight again is the instance security. Is ServiceNow Security Center. Go to your filter navigator in your instances. If you have a developer instance or a subprod instance, go there and hit Security Center. Go to your filter navigator, search for Security Center, start looking around. Even put this into your subprod environment and start making changes to see how it impacts you. This is a powerful tool that allows you to view real-time information about your instance's security status. And with hardening, you're going to see things like, how hardened are you? How are you compared based on the hardening configurations? Where do you stand? Are you at 60%, which is pretty low, but that might be okay for your organization? Or are you at 95%, which is pretty high, but it might be restrictive for your organization? You want to test these features and set them up. You know, it's something that you really need to go and look at the available resources for what's going on. Our vision is to make it easy for you to expose the right data for the right reasons. So being able to take advantage of this and expose the data that you need while maintaining that security is really important. Let's go into, I believe, our second to last poll question. After this presentation, what is the likelihood that you will use the Security Center application moving forward? I love these responses. I'm going to share these in a second. Oh, this is fantastic. So there's a couple of answers here. Possibly I need to understand more. Our demo center, if you search for ServiceNow Demo Center, there are recordings available that go through a full demonstration of Security Center. So if you need to gather more information about that or security, we have our Office of the CISO, which we have a full team that's ready to answer your questions. But you also have those video resources. Those video resources are going to provide you a step-by-step guide to walk through that specific application so you can gain so much out of it. It's actually really cool. So let's think about our call for action. Identify where you are in your journey. And a large number of you have already identified where you are. You've responded. You know, are you at that crawl? Do you understand where to find the security documents? Do you understand basic out-of-the-box security features like Security Center to be able to stay on top of that? Are you running? Do you have advanced security requirements? And I'm really happy to see that not many people are running at this point. Like I said, I want you at the edge of walk. I really want a slow trot. Are you taking action to secure your instance? Have you reviewed the shared security model? Have you reviewed the Security Center videos? Those are all up online and available for you to go and take advantage of. Have you installed and utilized Security Center? Have you maintained any patches, and what version are you on? And then leverage available resources. So there's the product documentation, there's platform security, there's community. Community.servicenow.com is a fantastic resource. There are trainings up there. There are videos up there. There's people who are always ready to respond to questions. There's the security best practices guide. And then there's also your partners. So realistically, I want you to engage your partners so that you understand exactly what's going on. Now we're hitting time. We have one last poll, and then we're going to open this up to some questions. So let's go back to the question we asked at the beginning. What is your level of confidence in securing a ServiceNow instance? Has it improved? All right. We're seeing some really good responses where previously we had some, I have no idea where to begin. Those of you that are falling into neutral, not very confident, somewhat confident, please reach out to your account team and, you know, get some time with some of our field security people, the Office of the CISO. They know how to do this, and that's what we're here for. We want to answer your questions and walk you through the things that you need to know. We want to be able to deliver to you a more confident and not such a heavy lift on security. Security doesn't have to be intimidating. So I'm going to open this up to questions and see if there are any questions that are out